Welcome to the 21st episode of the Miami Valley Craft Beer Podcast. My name is Blake Lomfo. Today I'm in Vandalia, Ohio at Hairless Hare Brewery. I'm with this awesome guy. We've been at a couple festivals together. We always run into each other at anniversaries. So introduce yourself and tell me your role here.
I'm Micheal Muncy, and I'm the head brewer here at Hairless Hare.
Like I said, you and I have run into each other a lot, especially in the Dayton area, and even in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of cool beer festivals around.
Yes. So tell me how your story in the craft beer.
Well, I started, when I was, I hate to say this, underage. I would go find the weirdest foreign kind of beer I had, because that's what we had back then. And as things progressed, then, we started getting microbrews back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Started drinking those, and then kind of faded away for a little bit, and then it came back as craft beer. And I was lucky two of my friends were opening a craft brewery, and I got involved early and before we were open, and used to come up here and volunteer.
So tell me the early days in craft for you. What was certain beers that just spoke out to you right away? Hey, there's something here.
I've always liked Fatheads and Jackie O's. They've always been great beers. Always was a big fan of Micheal. I love Micheal stuff. And just all the traditional like German beers and stuff have always been really good. So that's always been great. And then here locally we've had Warped Wing all along. They make like great beer. So we've been lucky in our area to have such great beer and stuff.
Yeah, I always tell people that Cincinnati is great, but if you look at what we have in Dayton right now, Dayton is moving really along. I'm excited to see how it's going.
Yeah, it's and some of the new guys opening. The guy down in Miamisburg, I'm probably going to say the name of the brewery wrong, but I think it's Entropathy.
Which I was just there Saturday. Great beer.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see
great
where
beer.
to go.
And for just opening, started out with a good product, and I think as time goes on, Jordan will even make better product.
Mm-hmm. That has to be nerve-wracking, especially when you opened up. So tell me how the idea of Hairless began.
Well, that's more of a question for Mike and Matt, but from what I've heard from them telling the stories where they were home brewing down in Matt's basement, and once the laws changed here in Ohio, it wasn't really the laws, it was the licensing fees. They went from like $12,000 or $15,000 down to like $1,500. So that kind of gave the opportunity to all these breweries that are popping up, because it's not such a risk anymore. So they decided to go through, to do a brewery, and they were sitting around one night trying to come up with names, and they just randomly picked up Hairless Hare. It's a reference to Matt's brother when he was younger, and the next morning they woke up and Matt already had the website and Facebook page and everything else, and okay, let's just go with it, because it is different and unique. I mean, I get asked about it all the time, so that's how the name got there and how they got started.
And how did this location come out?
They just looked around and looked at a few locations, looked at somewhere in Huber and a few other places. It's just that Mike's from Huber. I went to high school with Mike, and then Matt's from Northridge, and this was just like an area that nobody else was kind of looking at that time. And Vandalia is a really good area, a lot of good people out here, and so they chose here, and it's been a blessing, because the people of Vandalia and in the surrounding communities have all supported us throughout the years.
Because I'm about to say, like, for the longest time, you guys were just in one little shop that you guys were always full every day, and even for people like for Troy, this was our closest one for the longest time.
Yeah. I know the feelings. I remember when Dayton Beer Company first opened in Kettering, it was even smaller than our old location, and I used to drive out there, and it was a 50-50 crapshoot if I was going to get in or not, because they were always so crowded.
I have to imagine you outgrew your original location pretty fast.
Oh yeah. We had looked at two other locations. One we kind of announced, and then we actually didn't move there, which I think was a blessing. And then the second one we never announced really out publicly, and then about that time the space next to us came open, so we this seemed like a better move for us, and it's really played out well for us.
Yeah, because what were some of the other locations you were looking at?
We looked at one in Fairborn and one in Huber.
I'm glad you stayed here.
Yeah. It's Huber's got they got the 2 out there now.
2
breweries. They got Warped Wing and Elmac.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah. Sometimes I forget Warped Wing moved out there.
Yeah. So they got 2 out there now. So 3 would have been a bit much.
You got Eden eventually, I think, coming on too, right?
Yeah. John Vanderglass is building a New Eden Brewing out there, and it's coming along pretty well. He's got his equipment and working on the building right now. So yeah, it's coming along.
But so when you guys were about to open, because you opened in 2013, correct?
Yeah. November of 2013.
What were the first couple of beers you had?
Oh, I'm trying to remember back then. Wow, it's been so long. I believe we had Rabbit Hole Chocolate Stout. We had, oh God, I'm trying to remember the names of some of them, because a lot of them we don't make anymore.
Didn't you have a honey one too?
I think that came a little bit later.
Okay.
Now, I know we had our American Pale Ale. That's one of the few that we still have on. I believe the Rye the Hell Not is one of the originals too. I'm not 100% sure on that. I forget. It's been so long. I forget what we had originally.
So when you're starting out, coming out with beers, and down the road you evolve, how does that evolve change? As you're seeing, hey, this product can be better, or are you trying to just evolve?
Well, we have to evolve. If you just keep doing the same thing, the consumers gets, their tastes change. Like back in the early days, saisons and Belgians were still big. Now they're not so big anymore. Sours, hazies, even our cider is selling really well for us now. And so we think things have just evolved, and also techniques have evolved, and they have better supplies for us, and the grain's gotten better, the hops have gotten better, just everything's gotten. There's a lot of innovation on the supplier side that makes it easier for us to make good beer.
So let's get into the rye.
Okay.
So talk to me about the rye and how that came
The
up.
rye is one of Matt's original recipes that he used to homebrew. It's just a basic rye IPA. Little on a caramely notes to it, but you still got that hop bite. It's one of our big sellers. We've been making it for years.
Because about you and Warped Wing were the only ones I've heard known of that's done a rye IPA. So is it a trend that's coming back, or is it just for something you guys that people just like here?
It's just something that people drank all along, and I think you have one or two different types of craft customers. You got the ones that keep coming to the same place, wanting the same beers every week, but then you got the other ones who, for us, would go to our New Englands or our sours. They want something new and different all the time. We tend to change both those up fairly regularly. We don't do the same New England every time. We don't do the same sour every time. So I think both of those cater to that customer. So that's kind of why we keep doing that. And like a few of our others, like the American and our Buckeye and our Cold War, people just expect that when they come here now. That's what they want, and that's what we have to give them.
I can see myself, there are days where I want the same thing, but there's also some days, say I want to try something new. I think it's just a balance.
Yeah, it just depends. For me, since I'm in this Dayton scene, I tend to have most of the local beers a lot at festivals and other things like that. So when I'm in town, I'm not so adventurous, but when I'm like out of town, like a great example, I've been in Louisville a lot recently, and I've been drinking a lot of beers like that I never would have tried, different styles and things, which is kind of neat.
So are there different styles in Kentucky that haven't made it here yet, or?
No disrespect to Kentucky, but they're like a little behind. It seems like they're, it's a smaller state, not as many breweries, not as many people, obviously, either. So they're just a little behind. Stuff that a lot of the Ohio people were doing a few years ago, they're just now kind of doing now, and you can see the growing pains on it. But they'll eventually get get it down and stuff.
Because one of the episodes I did was actually Fabled Brewworks down in Kentucky, and it's amazing what they're pumping out. And you're saying they're behind, and
they're one of the few that are. So that's basically Cincinnati.
I know.
So they're basically in Cincinnati. But if you get down some of the other parts, I just went to the Kentucky Craft Brewers Guild's summer festival, and there was some breweries from the middle of nowhere And it was very different than some of the other beers that you could get from like Northern Kentucky breweries. Like if Braxton wasn't there, but if they would have been there, Braxton makes really solid stuff. I love Braxton beers.
Because there's one in Louisville already. Like I forget what. It's like 8 Mile or
At Mile Wide.
Mile Wide. Thank you. I went there that one time and I really, really liked their stuff.
Yeah, Mile Wide, and they're great guys. I've gotten to know the guys over the years, and they're really, really good guys.
So it's funny when you say Kentucky's behind because people say Dayton's like always behind as well.
Yeah. So similar. Yeah, we hear that. A lot of people want to say that Columbus is ahead of us, and I don't know.
I would think Cincinnati would have an argument on that because it seems like Cincinnati just keeps growing and growing.
Cincinnati, I can say they're making some really good stuff, and they are kind of for here in Ohio. They're kind of like the leaders when it comes to like the new trends and stuff. But places like Branch and hopefully myself, I think we try to keep up with with the trends and try to just follow the. Nice thing is internet now makes it a little bit easier to follow, and learn how to brew all this wacky, crazy stuff.
Is there a balance as a brewer being wacky and having like traditional stuff, or is it just up and down?
It just depends on what you're trying to do. That like on the sours, you can almost go anywhere you want to go. Where the like a stout or whatever, you can only go so far with it. It's gonna be about it. Or like sours, you can go almost anywhere you want with it, but not always the other way. Some of the other beers you can't. Like the rye IPA, it is what it is. You couldn't really mess with that too much.
So you guys, I always considered you guys part of the first wave. We were talking off air, like Eudora, Yellow Springs, Warpwing, Toxic. What was that like? You guys all coming on at one time?
Oh well, I didn't make it to Dayton Beer Company was the first. They opened in 2012, I believe, actually. And I remember going there that first day, and like I was telling you off air that I was disappointed that I got there and I couldn't get in because it was packed. And good for them, right? And then I remember a few months later going to Yellow Springs. They were the second one, and there was a line. From anyone that's ever been there, will know that there's a long line there's a long driveway from the street to the door. Well, the line was almost out to the street.
Oh, wow.
And the owner, Lisa, was out taking orders on coasters. And then when you came up, they had your order, but they had it right. They had my 2 beers. I had a smoked Hanson. That's what I forget what it's called. And then an IPA. That's one of my first smoked beers. I've came to the conclusion I don't like smoked beers. but I had to try them to figure it out, right? I didn't know. But
the only smoked beer I liked was the one in the Warped Wing when they barrel aged it.
Yeah, the pumpkin one.
Yeah, pumpkin. But there was I forget what the name of it was. But so, have you ever tried smoked here, or probably never?
No, we've made smoked beers. We used to early on. We had a smoked pumpkin beer we would do every year.
That was also really good.
Yeah, Matt would take the pumpkins and actually take them. He'd bring a smoker in and we'd smoke them out back, and it just became kind of as the years went on, it didn't sell as well because just smoked beers aren't the biggest popular thing. And like I said, tastes have changed over the years. So we started doing a pumpkin pie sour to kind of take its place, and it sells really well for us.
Because he also had mead here at one time, so what made you make the switch into sour rum?
Oh, the mead? Well, the mead, like the guy that was making the mead, he was retired military and just switched jobs after he was a contractor afterwards, and switched jobs and just didn't have time to make it anymore at the quality that he wanted to make it at. So it's just the timing was right. So we did away with the mead, and so now we're making cider of our own and also hard lemonade also too.
And that's good because some people say you see that trend of the cider. So the seltzer's kind of fizzing a little bit.
Yeah, seltzer's just kind of going flat a little bit. Yeah.
But when you start seeing that, does it worry you as a brewer? Hey, I need to go this way or that way.
It doesn't really worry me too much. I like cider, so it's not that big of a thing. personally, I'm not a mead fan, so it was never my thing. I was never going to make mead, I can tell you that. I also, I don't like seltzers. That's why you've never seen a seltzer on our...
it doesn't hurt my feelings one bit.
Yeah, you've never seen a seltzer on our thing here. It's not my thing.
Like, I've tried my fair share, and just none of them have really stick.
The only one I like is that Astra.
Yeah,
because it tastes like cream soda. It doesn't taste like seltzer.
Mm-hmm. Which each to their own, whatever you like.
Yeah, exactly. No, it takes all kinds.
So, what were some of the first beers you had that hit off the right bat? And I'm sure you talk about the rye was an narrow one that just hit, and people were like, "Oh, we can't get enough of this."
Well, the sours since day one. We started doing the kettle sours a few years ago, and like originally the two guys were like, we don't know about this, and because it's a labor-intensive process. It almost, for the way our brew house is, it takes me about 3 days to fully make one. It's a labor-intensive because you got to do a lot of cleaning beforehand and all the cleaning afterwards, and so they were a little hesitant about making them at first, but then now they're all gung-ho about it. We sell so much of it. It's one of our top sellers typically.
Are you one of the yeast that doesn't really affect much, or do you were talking about cleaning it? Because I know some sours out there that you can't have it anywhere close.
That's typically more of like your Brett sours, like Brettanomyces. I tend to do the lacto ones, the kettle sours, so it's not as bad. It's a lot easier to control. So you don't have to worry about that as much.
I've heard stories where someone didn't clean it right and it just tastes sour the rest of the time.
Or like your tap lines too. But that's more of your Brettanomyces sour. They call it Brett sours. Those tend to be a little more tricky, a little more acidic. So it's not my cup of tea. I've never really cared for those that much. But once again, some people love them.
Mm-hmm. And the Urban Artifact has theirs time, and Pretentious out of Columbus makes great stuff too.
Yeah, Josh is killing it up there in Pretentious.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I also like about it is you're right next to the airport. I have to imagine you get a lot of foot traffic on airport.
Yeah, a lot of airport traffic. We get a lot of Ubers dropping people off, and and then they'll come in with their bags and sit them down, and then take off. I mean, it's or people's going to fly out. Flight's not till 8 o'clock. They'll come up at 5, have a couple pints before they head over. That way to calm their nerves a little bit before they get on the flight.
Right. And also, one of my favorite places to come for the air show is actually here.
Yeah.
So you have good beer over here, and you can see everything from over there.
Oh yeah. It's one of the better viewpoints. We had the Dayton Daily News recently come out and did a story on us because of the view that we have for the air show, which is cool.
And you guys don't charge much any different than
no. There's no charge for it. We just hope people come out and have a good time.
Yeah, it normally is. So I'm not sure which room we should go into next. So I'm gonna let you.
This is Cold War.
Okay.
This is just a regular Cold War.
One of my favorites out here, guys. Oh yeah, taste them like Cold War.
Yeah.
So how did idea Cold War come up?
Well, that's another one. I left for a little while when it first opened. I didn't for about 6-7 months. I didn't come in to kind of help. I just had other stuff going on because I saw my other job at that point. And then I came back and we started making that right about that time. It was another one of the early days, and Matt was coming up with a lot of the recipes. And he just wanted to do the biggest stout he could, and so we did a stout that normally comes in somewhere between 11.5% and 12% every time. Mm-hmm. It's one of the hardest beers to make. It's such a big beer. It takes a lot of grain and a lot of space in our mash tun. But it's been one of our staples, and people love it. And almost every year we do a barrel aged version. That we always have a barrel age on tap typically. Right now it's Old Scout, and here soon we have an Ezra Brooks coming up, and also a Blanton's and a Heaven Hill 8-year.
Well, so the Blantons should sell pretty fast then.
Yeah, the Blantons and the Heaven Hill I think will do well. Yeah. The Ezra Brooks, we'll have to see. I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of name recognition unless you're like a super bourbon nerd, which
I know who they are, but
Yeah.
So when you put like a like a stout in the blends or something like that, do you see like a sales go up because it's in the blends barrel? Because blends is
not really. I mean, yeah, for the first couple of weeks, it will, and then it kind of mellows out. People want to go. That's with any of the barrel age. And we got some. There's folks. I have some friends I just talked to on Saturday, and they are super big. No, on Friday, and they're super big barrel age fans. Whenever a new barrel age comes out around town, I don't care where it's at. These two friends, they'll drive to go get it.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Especially like I say this like on Black Friday, that's where I'm going is barrel age stuff.
Yeah.
That's when it really kicks off for me.
We started. I think this is going to be our 5th year. We do a barrel-aged beer festival up in Chicago called FOBAB, the Festival of Barrel-Aged Beer. And so one of those back there, we'll send a keg up of it to get it judged and see how we do. Unfortunately, we always send the stout, and that's the hardest category because everyone sends stouts. I mean, there's other categories besides stout. There's sours and golden ales and browns and stuff like that, but we always send our Cold War, so you're always in there with the big boys like Firestone Walker and Sam Adams and Sierra Nevada. There's little Hairless Hare from Vandalia, Ohio up there trying to fight those guys, but one of these days we're going to get a edit medal up there.
I think what State of Ohio just proved at the World Cup, the Great American Beer Festival, is that Ohio can take anyone on.
Yeah.
So Ohio just brought back a lot of medals.
Yeah, we got a few. We don't enter as many competitions as we used to. Like I said, we've been around long enough to where early on that helps attract customers in. The only reason I do FOBAB anymore is because that's one of my favorite beer festivals.
I guess I gotta go check that out sometime. When is that normally?
This year it's going to be the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Sounds like a trip maybe for me.
Oh, it's super fun.
So, because back in February, I got invited there was a cask ale festival in St. Louis at Second Shift. Yeah. And man, that was a festival in itself. Because everyone brought out their heavy hitters. It was like $75 one entry fee. They gave you glass and said, good luck.
That's kind of the way FOBAB is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to say it's like 80, but you get in and it's just like 4 hours of just go at it and see where you're at the end, man.
So when you see festivals like that, and it makes me wonder why is Ohio a little more stricter on those type of festivals? So, one entry fee, you can drink all you want, or
Ohio does have some strict liquor laws, so that's why a lot of the Ohio Beer Fest are ticketed. There's good points to that and bad. Like I was telling you about FOBAB, or even like Great American Beer Festival out in Denver every year. That's another one where you come in and you just drink as much as you want, and you do see a lot more drunk people at those versus the Ohio ones are pretty tame and pretty a lot more respectable people. Sometimes you get some pretty drunk people at those events because that's sometimes that's like I call it amateur hour, and they'll get out and people start acting up and acting crazy.
That's everywhere, but like the one I was at, you saw a couple of drunk people, but most people knew what they were doing, so it's not like people were being that bad with it. Because I had in my mind was like, because I was out in St. Louis, I'm going to go here and here, and after the festival, I was like, I don't think I need to go there.
And St. Louis has a lot of good breweries. I went a couple years in a row. I had a friend that would invite me to go to St. Louis with them for like a work trade show. And I got to hit, Civil Life and Four Hands. I like Four Hands a lot. Urban Chestnut's fantastic. And there's a few others I went to that were always really good.
Which hopefully down the road I'll have them on, especially being connected to Nick Bowman now.
Yeah. Urban Chestnut, that's his cousin.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about the Craft Beer Association and what's going on at the state capitol, because you mentioned you have a lot you want to talk about.
Well, so us craft brewers, Ohio has some weird liquor laws, and one of the biggest liquor laws that's kind of kooky is the fact that if you sign with a distributor, you are signed to them basically for the life of your business. So if you, we're not signed with a like distribution company, because we don't really wholesale much beer. The only place you can typically get our beer outside of here is King's Table. So it doesn't really affect us, but in a sense we have to help our brothers and sisters out and make sure that the ones that are struggling to get out of a deal. So let me go back. Once you sign with the distributor, the only way you can get out of that deal is if the distributor drops you. You can't go to them and say, hey, you're not selling this much product, you're not pushing my stuff, I want to get out of this deal. It doesn't work that way. So you have no recourse unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars to go get lawyers and fight it, and it just typically doesn't work out that way. So you're just either stuck in this horrible distribution deal. I have a friend that owns a brewery up in Columbus, and he signed on with the distributor early on, and it was more of a weird thing in Ohio law that he basically, after 90 days, he automatically was signed with this distributor. And he's been trying for numerous years to get out of this deal, and he can't. So it's he's struggling to, it could put him out of business. Mm-hmm. So all we're asking for is a fair system where we could go to these companies and say, hey, let's do a 2-year, because we can write a 2-year contract and say, hey, after 2 years we'll review what's going on, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll split the deal up. Mm-hmm. And that's not what happens now. You could go and say, hey, you guys aren't selling anything, all your product's just not good. Mm-hmm. That's their always comeback. Or
I'm sure they say there's too many of you guys now, we can't handle you.
Yeah. And there are a couple good distributing companies that will just let you go. Mm-hmm. There's very few and far in between. And there's the laws were written back in the day when there's only like 4 big beer companies. You had Miller, Coors, Budweiser, and Pabst or whatever, and there was like 200 like distribution companies, and so now it's reversed. There's only like 10 or 12 distribution companies, and there's like almost 500 breweries now. Mm-hmm. But so the laws haven't been changed since the 70s, and it's time for them to take a good look at it and to make it an even playing field for everyone. It's not fair right now. We have a 3-tier law here in Ohio, so distributors have a lot of say-so on where you can get their, they can get your beer in if they want, but a lot of times they just refuse to. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be changed, and I've been lucky enough to be able to go up and support this cause the last couple of years. It's spearheaded by Mary McDonald with the Ohio Craft Brewer Association, and Haggerty's been real big. John Haggerty's been real big into it, and now Jason Moore from Crooked Handles on the OCBA board, and soon to be the vice president of the OCBA.
And then you'll be the president then?
Okay. No, he will be. No, I have nothing to do with the board. I just fight for the causes, because I do believe in we should all have a fair playing field.
Because Jason was telling me on my last one that even Samuel Adams is there with you guys helping you.
Yeah,
that's something for Samuel Adams to say this isn't right either.
Yeah, because the way we wanted the law changed, it would not help them at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wouldn't even affect them really. Mm-hmm. It just would, because they make so much barrel. Because the rule was like, if you make over like so many barrels a year, then you'd be exempt from this rule change. Because if Samuel Adams did pull their stuff from a distribution company just willy-nilly, it could crush them. So I get why the law was put into place originally, but for us small guys, it's not going to change anything.
Because there's been many people with me on this show that a lot of them that aren't in distro, and they have they don't want to do it because of one of the reasons is the distro law. But they're too afraid, they'll self-distribute, take a keg here and there, but that's about all they will do.
Because it's expensive to set up your own, distribution network. Warped Wing is one of the only few. Them in Yellow Springs, around
because they're all self-distribute, aren't they?
Warped Wing is in our region, but then in Cleveland and Columbus, they're signed on with distribution companies.
Okay.
but just locally here, they do their own.
Because I remember during COVID, they had a truck that would go around. That was the coolest.
Yeah, Bowman used to go and like drive and like drop off beer.
One of the few good things about COVID, that and there are several things. One, the door came out of it.
Yeah.
And also you could take your alcohol away, which I think breweries were doing that way before that.
Yeah, we did a lot of more wholesale, or not wholesale, but we did our people buying growlers and stuff from us picked up a lot. And a lot of people just continue to do it still to this day, which has been nice.
Because what's the debate between like the growlers and crowlers? Because some places do that, some places.
It just depends on space. A lot of times, for us, we just don't have the space to have the machines, and because you have to buy a whole skid of cans typically, and if where we don't have the space to hold cans on, because this is all we have, and there is no more space out back.
Well, you're not going to knock down that other Hertz and just take over the strip.
That'd be nice. We just don't have the space to hold the cans or anything like that. So if we had the space, then we would probably do it. But we just don't have. Because I prefer the crowlers over the growlers because they're smaller sizes. But it just doesn't work out for us.
Probably crowlers stay good.
Yeah.
Because I've one of my friends that is Alomatic, and they were telling me about stories of how people would get the growlers and just don't drink it for 2 weeks, and it goes bad, and they get blamed for it. That's one of the reasons why they start crowling everything. That way it stays somewhat good.
Yeah. We've been lucky. We haven't had too many complaints. That can happen. But you can also have bad seals on the crowler if you don't get someone that's really watching what they're doing. So there's always that trade-off.
But people always complain about something. So
yeah.
So sour.
Yeah. So this is our Rainbow Sherbet Sour. All of our sour flavors. We don't just buy stuff off of like a website or anything. We actually go back in the kitchen, and there was one of the guys was in the back with actual sherbet and all the other stuff and putting it into the beer. Like, it's not just no slight to anyone that does that, but that's just kind of our shtick. Right. That's what we've always done since day one. Occasionally we might have to order something, but very, very few, far in between. And we like to keep them about that 4.5, between 4 and about 5%, so they're not like going to get you crazy drunk.
And it's not like Gadget or astronaut food that will put you under. Which great beers, and not
yeah.
But no, this is great. I mean, wow. So you really put sherbet in this?
Yeah, it has a real sherbet in it.
No, yeah, because you can taste it right away.
Yeah, I just went back a few weeks ago when we were making this batch up the flavorings, and I never really pay attention to that because it's not my thing. I make the beer, then they just give me the flavoring, and here you go, dump it in. But I went back and watched them make this one, and it was like just crazy seeing all this in there and all the other ingredients that they were throwing in. Like, man, that's crazy. Like, I never would have thought about doing that.
So when you put sherbet into something, when does it normally go into the process?
It goes into secondary, so it's after you finish your fermentation, and then you you put it in afterwards.
Okay, because I wondered, because I was like, I didn't think you would do your first one because that's when the yeast is still working.
Yeah.
The yeast would love to get a taste of the sherbet.
It would. Yeah, it would definitely kick back off, and it would just go crazy. So that's always a consideration. But yeah, when we learned really early on that you have to make sure all the yeast is out of there, and so that's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. We actually what we do is to guarantee it is that we will move it to a different tank and get it off where the yeast was at before, and then we'll add the flavoring in.
Because some of my favorite sours are the ones that when you say there's a flavor in there, you can actually taste it, which you can taste that. Because there's some sours I've had where they said this is in there and you don't even notice it's there.
Yeah, I know one of the ones we do have to use a little extra flavoring on is strawberry, because you can put real strawberries in it, which we do. Any strawberry that we have has real strawberries in it. It's just you can't really taste the smell. You kind of taste with your smell, and strawberry is just one that doesn't come through. So you have to add a little bit of flavor to it just to get that smell.
So another thing that you and Jason are big part of, is the Dayton Passport.
Yeah, so Jason and I took a trip down. So we buy our bourbon barrels down in Kentucky at a place called Kentucky Bourbon Barrel. And they're a subsidiary of one of the biggest manufacturers of barrels. And just easier for us because we're both small. We just go down, throw them in the back of the truck, come back with them. And so we were down there, and we were just sitting around, and we went to a distillery on the way down, actually. And I was like, what we should do, because I knew that Cincinnati had at one point had done an ale trail. This is a long time ago. And like, what? We should do one, but just do it like with our own spin. And so we had went to the local conventions bureau, and they didn't really have much interest in it. They kind of just, we don't think people's going to be interested in it. And so we thought about it for a few more months, and like, let's just do it ourselves. Now we've kind of handed it off. We have Minuteman Press helps us do it, and we also have been blessed with a great graphic designer, Ashley Baker, from Redhead Designs. If that's wrong, Ashley, I'm sorry. But she's awesome at making the passport and getting the graphics done and stuff. And each individual brewery designs their own ads, and then Jason and I kind of just help like organize that and kind of get it going. And with the help of Jesse now too, we got the hardest part of the whole thing is picking out the prize, because you can't keep doing glasses every year. We get a lot of feedback now when people don't want the glasses anymore, because everyone's just tired of glasses, because every brewery's got gives away glasses and stuff. And so
the book bag was a cool spin.
That was a cool one. I was glad that was suggested by Jesse. We're looking at some options for this year.
I could have an updated tin.
Well, that's one of the things that we're looking at. In fact, we just scheduled a meeting with Jesse for here in a few weeks to get together and figure out the last what the price is going to be when you get that going.
So how did you guys create the radius? Because I noticed like there are some that goes further out, then there's some that's like in that radius that seems like they should be in there, but they.
Well, so it started out with basically. So in the early days, they used to get together, all the breweries, and kind of just have like a social hour. We kind of get together and hang out, and that kind of had fallen away because everyone was so busy, early on trying to just get things going. And as things kind of settled out and everyone found their niche and found their rhythm and stuff, we were able to get back together. And that's one of the things that makes Dayton a little different than the rest of Ohio, is the fact that we do get together every 2 months and just talk, just hang out. We can talk about the ale trail, because it's not just Jason and I doing it. It's a collaborative effort with all the breweries and stuff. Everyone's got their say so. We don't do anything without a vote. Everyone kind of has their 2 cents to say in it, and so early on, one of the guys who started Fig Leaf was from Warped Wing, and so when we started the group, Middletown was kind of like, they're not Cincinnati, but they're not Dayton. And so we were given this group already when we started, and we felt like we couldn't exile anyone, because early on doing the ale trail, there still was a lot of breweries that weren't open yet. Heavier and Hare wasn't open, or Bach wasn't open, or I don't think even Devlin was open yet. And so we didn't have those guys. So we wanted to have as many as possible at first, to make it cost effective for us to do it, because the more you have, the cheaper it is overall to do it. And so we just basically used Warped Wing as our center plot, and then we started measuring out. And at that point in time, whatever the farthest brewery was at that point in time, that was, and I want to say it was like 29.8 miles or something. I guess, okay, we'll just go with 30 miles. Or is it 25 miles? It's either 25 or 30 miles. And we have kept it in that radius ever since then. So that's why we don't get any further north. We've had some inquiries from places in like Westchester and Cincinnati and stuff if they could be part of it. We've had to say no because that's just getting too far out of our range. I mean, people are already it's a fairly big range. Because you got Enon on one side, or you got Eaton on one side, and then you got Yellow Springs going the other way, and then Mulder's downtown now. But just that's how we kind of came up with with the map of it. So, and there's more places opening. So we'll have the one Miamisburg will be in it this year, and then once the guy out in Enon gets going, we'll add him to it. But that's only two I know of close opening right now. I'm not sure of anyone else.
Because how much more do you see Dayton growing?
Well, as a lot of people know, craft beer is not the cool, hot thing right now. So I think you're going to see a lot of these were already going before this kind of, the plans were already going for this. So they're just following through what they already started. I think for the next few years, you probably won't see too many more open. They'll kind of wait it out and see what's going to happen. I do think it's always secular, so it will get popular again in some form. Like we were talking earlier about how I got started, back in the early days it was microbrews, and now it's craft beer. And what's going to be next, I have no idea, but it will be something. And it's just to see, hopefully everyone can survive these tough times, and we'll all get through, and hopefully, still be here. We've been doing well, and I know a lot of other places are still doing well. But in some of the other cities, you've like in Columbus, you've seen a few close already.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been one or two in Cincinnati that's closed, and luckily Dayton hasn't really had that. We've only had one that was in the process of closing, and then they got bought by the box. So then now you have to
I guess Gravel Road would be the second one.
Yeah, true. I forgot about Gravel Road. Yeah. So
because one of my things I've been thinking, because you see some breweries closed, but you see like Growing Mill, and someone else comes right in and takes the reins and say, hey, we'll take it from here. So that has to be one of the positive, yes, where you're losing one, but there's also people willing to come, hey, we'll take it on.
Yeah, and I think Dan was working at another brewery, and just timing on that was perfect for him, right? He was working at another brewery, decided to leave there, and he just said he was wanting to do his own thing all along. He's talked about that for quite a while, and now he's got his chance. So good for Dan. Let's do some good stuff down there.
I love seeing yes, it's sad to see a brewery close, but it's also cool to see someone's actually going to try to save it. Because I had the Bach family on my second episode, and they were talking about how once they had control, they opened right away because Sandra was still on the thing because they couldn't afford to wait any longer. And I know people say that craft beer's down, but some of these, like if we go to you guys or Yellow Springs and some of these other ones, you guys are packed on all through the weekend. So something has to be working right.
Well, it's the ones you're seeing the ones that had good business plans and or had multifaceted business plans where they're not so reliant on one part. Like if you're a heavy distro, distro is cluttered now with all kinds of breweries from out of states, where us we never relied on that, so that part of it never hit us, affected us the way it did some of the other guys. I know Four String up in Columbus, they closed quite a few years ago, but they were one of the first ones because they were predominantly distro, and when all these other breweries started coming in and taking their shelf space from them, it hurt them. And so we were lucky. I mean, at one point we kind of thought about going real heavy into distro and evolve, and when we were talking about moving to a different facility at bigger brew houses and stuff just to accommodate that. But it's one of those blessings that you look back on like, oh God, I'm kind of glad we didn't go in that market, because that's a whole different animal right there.
Because another place in Vandalia I really like is Bunkers, and you guys used to create beer for them, didn't you?
Yeah, we used to do beer for Bunkers. We used to do amber for them, and yeah, it was a really good seller. They just decided they wanted to go a different direction, so we brought it back in house, and we sell it here now. And to this day, it's normally on tap. We kind of rotate it in and out sometime of the year, but during Ohio State season, we'll always have it on because it is OH Scarlet.
Yeah.
And we always tend to have that one on, just like this Buckeye right here.
Right. So let's get into the Buckeye.
Yeah. So this is our peanut butter porter. I don't remember the year it came out. I do remember when it first came out. And it's been a evolving beer. First we always put has a lot of peanut butter in it, real peanut butter. Has Hershey's chocolate in it, and it's just evolved over the years to try to get more of those flavors out, and like some the techniques on how we brew it and everything. It's just evolved and came out really well.
Because I know, like during. So what made you not go into a stout versus a porter?
It's just a little more approachable. The stouts sometimes tend to be a little more, heavier and thicker. We wanted this to be a little approachable because there's a lot of people that drink this. That always surprises me. It's really popular with the ladies, and typically the ladies don't like the darker beers. I'm not saying all of them,
right.
But that tends to be the pattern. And a lot of the ladies love this beer, so it's kind of if it's a stout, it might not be as approachable for them.
So, but it has to be big during. I'm assuming you used to release this during the Buckeye season. Mm-hmm. It has to be popular to Ohio State.
Yeah, a lot of Ohio State fans love it because the name, obviously, Buckeye Nation, and so we tend to try to have the Ohio State games on here so they can drink their Buckeyes or their OH Scarlets and watch the game.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys do a lot of sporting things here?
Not too much. We will have all the games on. We can whatever. We don't have any of the packages or nothing like that, but we tend to have the Ohio State games on, and then whatever college football games are on Saturdays. We're not open on Sundays, so we don't have to really worry about the
NFL crowd.
Yeah, NFL crowd, and we'll have the basketball games on. If UD's playing one of the nights we're open, we'll have them on definitely.
So we've talked about this a little bit. So craft beer keeps evolving. So what's some things that excites you? What's going on? What's some that worries you?
The excitement is the new products coming out that helps us brew better beer. Like there's so much innovation on that end that it makes it easy for us to brew really good beer. Things that worry me a little bit is there's a lot of breweries are just putting out a lot of fruit. Everything's fruit. Everything's got fruit in it, and it just makes you worry a little bit because you can't make everything a fruit. That's not then you're gonna then you pigeonhole yourself into one kind of thing. So that's why we've kind of started also on the same thing, we make lagers now, or we've made a Dunkel. We went back to some of those traditional German beers, style beers, to kind of, so it has so it does everything, you don't, some places, everything's fruited, and just, I don't know, I'm not the world's biggest fan of that.
So in that room, so what's next for Hairless Hare?
Right now, for us, the big thing is our ciders are coming. We're doing a lot more ciders, a lot more of the hard lemonades. And they're really, really popular. Our sales have almost doubled on those in the last 6 months. And so that's exciting for us. It's like something new to play with, and because we never made ciders until a year ago. And so it's been kind of fun. Learned, made a few mistakes early on, and luckily I have some really good friends in the industry. The guy we buy grain from used to brew for a brewery in Utah called Uinta, and he was able to help me out with that and kind of get it worked out and tell me what he used to do. And so that's been fun. And then hard lemonade, no one else around here has made one of those, so it kind of had no one to lean on that, and so we had to just figure out how to make a hard lemonade, and they came out pretty tasty too. I was pleasantly surprised. First time making something, you always kind of like, oh man, you don't know. And then hopefully the next one we make, we'll have a new one coming out here in a few weeks, and hopefully it'll be better than the first one.
Another thing I love about Hairless is your food here has always been top notch. Like,
yeah.
So whose idea was it to make, like the pizzas or like?
Well, it started out with Matt's wife Diane. She used to be a chef back in the day, and she laid out a good groundwork. And then we've had some really good chefs in here over the time that we've had food. We didn't open with food originally. In the first 3 years we didn't really have food, and then we just seen that when you go somewhere, we started noticing at 5 o'clock every day, people started to kind of come in at 4, have a pint or two. Maybe it's 5 or 4 to 5:30. Then they would leave, go eat somewhere, and then a lot of times they don't return. You never, if you're out, going to different places, you never typically go to the same place twice. You don't leave it once and go back that day. And so, but if you have food, then your length of time stays. You're obviously gonna make more money then. And so we decided, hey, let's get some food in here. And the food's evolved. To start out, I think Diane gave us a really good base to start out with, and then just things evolved with different ideas from different individuals coming in, different chefs, and and Diane still has some really good ideas on different dishes and stuff. And so
because I don't know if you guys still do, but it was every Wednesday you guys had something different food wise and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're hoping to get back that at some point. We've had some little bit of which a lot of the industry has recently, a lot of turnover in your kitchen. Mm-hmm. So once that happens, you gotta kind of get them settled in first, and then once those guys are settled in, then you'll hopefully find either one or multiple the cooks and chefs back there that they'll jump on board and start making some other really cool stuff for us.
So what are some things that people should know about Hairless Hare, and what you're most proud of so far?
I'm just proud that we've given the community a place to come and hang out, because there's only really 2 places here in town. You got Bunkers and us.
Yeah.
And Bunkers is kind of over that side of town, and that's more like your sports bar kind of atmosphere. And we're similar. We got craft beer like Bunkers does, but we offer a different product. We have pizzas, and we try to do a really good pizza, really gourmet pizza, level of pizza. So I think that's one of the things that I like. And there's so many regulars that come in. Just unfortunately, I don't live that close to here, so I'm never here that much at night. So I don't know a lot of the regulars, but I can from talking to the bartenders and the owners and stuff. They can, this person, that person, this person. They brought their kid in for the first time or whatever. And it's cool. We became a part of the community up here, and they've really been welcoming, and it's been nice.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm assuming that's how the mug thing came about.
The Mug Club, one of our regulars had went to a art gallery, local art gallery, and came in with a mug of his own, and he said, hey, do you mind if I use this mug? And so I was like, yeah. Or no, they were like, yeah. And then more people were like, hey, where'd you get those at? So the owner's like, hey, that's a great idea. Let's start doing it. And now we're up to 667.
Which that's impressive, as much as we love all of these breweries around, it's cool you have those committed people that will still come here.
Yeah, and we do a yearly kind of turnover, and first couple of years, our first year was a decent amount, but every year now it's very few turnover. They're a lot of the people that come, they come religiously, every month, every week. Some come almost every day we're open. Mm-hmm. So that's nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and having me. I've been probably bugging you too much about coming on here.
No, it's fine. It's the schedule just don't work out. I've had to cancel on you twice.
No, it's fine.
The one was an OCB meeting, and I have to admit, the last one I went to the Reds game.
No,
at the
that's
Century
fine.
Bar.
Absolutely, no, that's fine. So, thank you again so much. And
Hey, Blake, thanks for being
cheers.
a loyal customer for us, man. We appreciate
no problem. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Miami Valley Craft Beer Podcast. This has been hosted, edited, and posted by me, Blake Longfellow. If you'd like to be part of the Miami Valley Craft Beer Podcast, please just reach out to me at blakelongfellow@gmail.com. If you want to find me on social media, just look up Blake the Brewer Explorer on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And the Miami Valley Craft Beer Podcast can also be found on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Twitter. I just want to thank everyone that has supported me through my journey, and I can't wait to post more for you. Thank you. Cheers.